Let's get into Mike Mouse. It drives me.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Welcome aboard. Our great people are in the house already. Buenas tardes, May Wood from Long Beach, California. Welcome aboard, Paul Fleming from Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome aboard, Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. Welcome aboard, Lee Grant from Montgomery County. Welcome aboard, Michael Rudney VQ from Brooklyn, New York. Welcome aboard, Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. Been missing you for a while, Yvette. Haven't seen you around in a couple of days or so. How you doing? Great to see everybody here. We are going to have, as usual, a great program for you today. Anyway. Oh, Biden. It looks like somebody got pardoned. Got to look that up when I get into the motion. Anyway, folks, we're going to have a great show for you today. How's everybody doing? I hope you're not spending all your time watching the trial because, for all practical purposes, it's a waste of time. We know that it's probably going to get a hung jury. The guy isn't going to get convicted, and he's going to spin it as a win. And then he's going to go around saying, "You see, they try to get me, but the people of America saved the day." Oh, I can almost feel it when that when that hung jury comes out. I can almost feel it. I can almost feel how he's going to celebrate it like a win, and then he's going to walk right into the debate and tell Joe Biden, "You try to convict me, but the people of America didn't." Of course, it's all hogwash. I am just assuming. I just don't think he's going to get convicted. I don't think so, especially the way the media is spinning it. It's amazing. So what am I gonna say? Michael Ronan says, Egberto, hung jury is your expectation. I think a guilty verdict. I hope that you are correct, Mr. Rodnin. I really hope you're correct. But I'm smelling a hung jury because of how the media is reporting. And forget about when they say things like, "Oh, the media isn't this." I think that there's a whole lot going on here, but we'll see. Michael McAndrews, Stumpy Dump wants to eat someone. Hi, hey Michael, where are you from? I like to call people out from where they're from. E2247 is in the house as well. Para ver. Eric says the transcripts are bad enough. Imagine what that video must look like. The quizzical looks on his face, the forgetting things at nauseum. Really? I don't know what you're talking about. I think, anyhow, what can I say? What can I say? I think it's going to be interesting. The debates. I do think in the debate, Trump is if he really goes for the debate where there's not people shouting, where he actually have to have a coherent sentence. I think at that point Donald Trump is going to be completely in over his head because there's nothing intelligent about Donald Trump. He's just a con man. That's all. Paul Fleming Sr. is in the house from Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome, Paul. I don't think I saluted you yet, right? No, I didn't. So, oh yeah, I did. Actually, I did. All right, let's see what else we got here. Any questions? Our pal Cicada, 17-year brood, 13 and 13-year brood, 19 emerged today, each 221 years, 2024. You won't be able to put them in your salad together again till 2245. Wait a minute, are you trying to tell me that you eat cicadas? I know they stay on the ground for quite a few years before they come out and start doing something, right? So let's see. Let me go ahead and see, because it looked like you had a cicada story there. So I think I want to follow your cicada story before we get into the program. Let's see what it says. Hey kids, let's talk and learn some biology. 2.5-minute starter video on dreaded 17-year cicada. Now you see you have me wanting to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and bookmark that guy because now you want me to learn about this too, my friend. So I am going to learn about that with you. Thank you, E2247. I hope I remember to play it. All right. Let's get back to the program. All right. They're safe eaten in moderation for dogs and cats. Tasty for persons too. Eat them right off the tree trunk after they emerge. Really? So what about the bacteria and all of that? Not a lot of that. Best flavors right when they come out of the soft shell. Oh, wow. Interesting. Let me read the last one. Says, any questions? Or pal cicada. I read that one. I'm trying to help people through this. For persons truly scared, I suggest counseling on vacation in areas where a brood won't be emerging. Cicadas are big and do end. Don't know what that means, but I imagine you do. All right, let's see what else have we got here. Anybody else joined us in the house? Anybody else joined us? Okay, let's go ahead and get busy. This morning I did a piece on our school district here, and I gave a little rant on charter schools, because charter schools are nothing more than a scam, right? It's just something to get people who are undeserving of additional income. We have a society now that tries to capitalize on everything, right? There's nothing left in the commons anymore. They want to privatize schools. They want anything that's privatized in the public domain means that your tax dollars is getting skimmed by somebody who had capital to mimic what government normally does. The only difference is they add a profit and reduce services. There's nothing that the public should be taken care of in the private sector that is better than the public sector. And I will argue that with absolutely, or discuss that, debate that with anybody. It's a matter of math. It's a simple matter of math. Paul Fleming says, new. The Justice Department has unsealed an indictment charging 3 North Korean workers and a U.S. citizen with allegedly engaging in staggering fraud through a complex illicit telework scheme. Okay, cool. And Trump's price for selling the planet, $1 billion. No joke. Yeah, I guess he wants to do that with oil execs. All right, let's go ahead and should I get started with the piece that I did this morning at KPFT, and then we'll move on again. But this is going to be on charter schools, and I use what's happening in Houston, which should be expansive to everywhere else where people are thinking charter schools. Let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll take it on the other side. One of the problems that we're having is that, yes, there's a lag time between when people get the information as far as how their personal economy is improving or will improve, and when the media started to pick it up. That's why it was great to see Steve Ratner today, given his charts and the way that Morning Joe went ahead and did the particular interviews. Again, inflation is still there, but wages are going up at a higher rate than inflation, which is what gives you more purchasing power. It takes a while to settle all in, but we are on the right track. The last thing we need is somebody that comes in like Bush came in right after Clinton, or like Trump came in right after Obama, to just destroy the building blocks of the economy. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
It is inflation when you really dig into the numbers. And younger Americans having trouble buying gasoline, having trouble buying groceries, and most importantly, trouble getting their first home. It is inflation that is driving them away from the Biden administration. The inflation data yesterday revealed some good news for cash-strapped shoppers. Grocery prices dropped for the first time in a year. Food prices fell by 0.2% in April, according to the Labor Department's Consumer Price Report.
It is the first drop in a year. Eggs led the decline, with prices dropping more than 7%. Steve Ratner is over at the wall with charts to break it all down.
The inflation data is critical to the election, and it has not gone well so far, but this may be the beginning of a better trend. So let's take a look at what happened yesterday, which was that the Bureau of Labor Statistics announced their latest data, and inflation is now, this is headline, we call headline, all the goods, up 3.4% year over year. And then we take out food and energy because they move around a lot, 3.6. But you can see what was happening, that we had gotten inflation down. It stalled out. It actually increased a little bit. And now we have somewhat better news. And I'm going to show you both in the financial markets and in public opinion, consumer sentiment, how that's affected. But what's also really important to note is that, yeah, a bunch of stuff is still going up. Car rental insurance is a really small part, 6% of the index. It's not something people buy every day. When you start to look at what people buy every day, you see food up 2.6%. 2.2% year over year. Get these lined up. Food up 2.2% year over year. Energy, gasoline, home heating, all that stuff up 2.6% year over year. And then goods, anything you buy, a piece of merchandise, actually down 1.3% year over year, led by furniture, appliances, and so forth. And so it is a picture of inflation that perhaps the average American doesn't fully appreciate. How much prices have moderated, especially for the things they buy every day.
Yeah, but Steve, let's look at housing up there. We're talking about housing, and you look at young voters. If you look at housing if you look at the cost of cars, we were just talking about offset, how automobiles, used automobiles still, it's just, I was out last night at an event and people were talking about how hard it is to still get a decent car.
Well,
and by a decent car, I'm not talking about one of your Rolls Royces.
Yeah,
I'm talking about
cars.
A Ford Fusion, if they even make one of those anymore.
Well, look, first on housing, yes, housing is still going up. The big problem on housing, as you know, is simply the affordability of a new house. House prices are still high, but mortgages are also high, which means the affordability, the ability of someone to afford a mortgage, literally, has gone down so much that for many young people, an 8% mortgage just makes a house unaffordable. And that's a huge problem. And one of the good things about the CPI numbers is it may give the Federal Reserve some leeway to cut interest rates a bit, which would bring down mortgage rates a bit. Yeah. It's not going to be dramatic between now and November, but maybe a little bit of help.
Steve, why is car rental and insurance so expensive?
There's a whole, it's a longer conversation.
No, I mean, it's 11.5%. And it's not that I'm complaining. It's just like, if you're working and your work makes you fly from city to city, let's say you're in insurance or you're in finance or you just there, the people every week I see on planes and, that's what they do. And so they get off the plane and then they have to go and they're dealing with still 11, 12% increase in what car rentals cost. Man, it cuts into their salary.
It does. This is only 6% of the index. Let's start with that. Secondly, a lot of it is driven by insurance. And this is a longer discussion probably for CNBC, but insurance rates are going up across. Insurance rates.
Talk to us about it.
I'm happy to talk about it. You tell me when to stop.
It's over your heads, guys.
Tell me when to stop.
For the money people.
Keep going.
I like purple. Go to the next chart.
All right, go to the next chart. You want to ask me something, or should I just plunge?
No, talk about wages.
Please, I don't think there's anything that I could ask you that would rise to the level of your expertise.
We're not CNBC anchors. Yeah. So I don't have the lingo.
So what do you got, Steve? Wages. This is the key point yesterday. Somebody was complaining to me about inflation. I said, well, the real key is whether wage increase is keeping up with the inflation increase, because you don't want deflation.
If you go back to when inflation was high back in 2022, it absolutely did not keep up. Wages absolutely did not keep up. But since inflation has moderated faster than wages have come down, have also moderated. And so you have had, Joe, to your point, from well more than a year now, wage increases running above inflation increases. 4% on average for wages, 3.4% for inflation. Not a huge difference, but positive purchasing power. And if you looked at the bottom quarter of Americans, they have done materially better than this 4%. And so for the bottom group of Americans, their purchasing power has actually increased by more than this.
The history of this country from the early 1980s onward are the rich were getting richer, the poor were getting poor. Post-COVID, actually, the lower third, lower half of Americans actually were getting ahead for the first time and doing better for the first time. Are we still there? Are some of those safety net measures, post-COVID measures, are they now running out? And are we returning to the old model of the rich getting richer, the poor getting poor?
No, income inequality is actually still narrowing. But the reason it's narrowing, the post-COVID programs certainly helped for a while. They are phasing out. But what really helps is the fact that we're running the economy with a very low unemployment rate. And so what that means is that employers have to pay more to get their workers. And you couple that with a lot of the minimum wage increases that were imposed during COVID and things like that, there's actually more demand for lower end workers than for higher end workers. And so they pay more at the lower end. And that is really what is driving this significant increase in wages. And Americans don't appreciate it, but their purchasing power is going up at this moment.
And that's it, folks. It turns out that wages are going up at a faster pace than inflation, which is what you actually want, more purchasing power. And the thing that's happening that didn't happen before because of the social programs that were instituted and because we've been able to keep unemployment low is, again, what? Wages continue to rise.
based on policy, based on policy. And now with us bringing a whole lot of jobs from overseas back, if we continue that and we get more of the progressive agenda passed in the second in Biden's second administration, then all will be fine. But it's up to Americans not to screw up once again and hire somebody that's going to destroy their personal economy. And you know what? It's important for us to realize that, again, math reigns, right? Forget about what you find with people's statement. I mean, what you find there in the news. One of the reasons I played this piece is I said at last good reporting, and we need a lot more of that. Now, I want to address something that is a bit, that shows a certain level of, what should I say, wishful misthinking. All right. Mike Cisak says, Michael Rudnin, if it was the case that GOP were worse on the economy, why are red states magnets to people in heavily blue states? People don't move unless there are good jobs and better overall economies. All right, let's go ahead and tell you a few truths. First of all, red states are welfare states. So one could make the argument that a lot of people are moving to blue states because the red states are welfare states. And those are the people that you don't get the cream of the crop. That's an easy argument to make, right? If you're a state that the blue states are supporting, in other words, the blue states are sending you money to support your people, that could be an argument, but that's not the real argument. The real argument is the following, and understand this very well, right? As it turns out, the blue states are supporting the red states. That's number one. Number two is that a lot of people make their wealth in blue states, and then they say, I can stretch my wealth even further if I go into a welfare state that doesn't cost me a whole lot of taxes like I do in the blue states. Because the blue states do care about paying its bills. The blue states do care about educating its people. The blue states do care about their roads. The blue states do care about the commons. So again, what you have shown there, my dear brother Cisak, is a misunderstanding on government and people's personal economies. And all my friends who have moved from California to Texas have sold their multi-million-dollar homes, come to Texas. They've purchased a home a much better home at a lower price, because that's how it is. And then they pocket the money that they made in the blue states. Again, that you evidently don't know what wealth is. So again, Mike, especially you, Mike, living in Missouri, welfare state. Just like all those the Appalachian Trails, 50% of the people are on welfare. And who are the people that pay those people? The blue states. Let's remember that. Remember, the red states, you guys talk a good game, but you're beggars. You are beggars. Your government begs for money from the central government as they pompously talk. So that's the reality. Live up to it. Read on it. It's in the numbers. Go see how much money they get from the government. The government that you guys don't like. See how much money you get from the government. It's amazing. The biggest talkers and the ones who are just the takers. All they do is take. Texas breaks even. But states like New York and Connecticut and Rhode Island, these states are the ones that supporting everything else. Tom C. says, for Yahoo News, Americans are increasingly moving to red states, Republican leading states, where life is cheaper, but people also die younger. Rest my case. There you go. Thank you for that, Tom. So I guess go to this blue. But again, the guys who go to those states, again, their monies go further after they built it in the blue states. Because again, as I says, the beggar states are the red states. Remember, folks, whenever anybody from red states try to tell you anything about your blue state, remember to let them know that you are paying them for their inability to balance their own books. Remember to tell them You are paying them for their inability to take care of their citizens' health care. Remember all of that. Don't ever let them get the upper hand on you there, because the people with progressive values are the ones taking care of people. Don't let, and again, one of the problems with progressives and Democrats is they don't go out forcefully and let it be known. My thing is, like, when I hear Mike Cisak or Eric Hayes talk a lot of their little silly stuff, I can just say, go, your people are beggars. Your people are beggars. Your people don't want to pay taxes. Your people want somebody to carry them. That's what your policies stand for. Your policies stand for begging others to support you. But you do it with a corny way of being, but you are beggars. Let's remember that. Red states, beggar states. All right, let's continue with the program. But I don't. So to those people that are out there, don't ever let people from red states that support the evil values of the politicians in red states get the upper hands, because remember, they're simply following evil policies. They are bigger states. They're asking for, always have their hands out. Always. Alabama, hands out. Mississippi, hands out. West Virginia, hands out. Louisiana, hands out. Arkansas, hands out. And they have the biggest mouth, but they're beggars. The biggest mouth, but they're bigger states. Bigger states, bigger states. Listen to Mike Cisak now. He gets racial. Check this out. To show who's racist, New York is now blocking white-owned businesses from participating in a huge $2.3 billion JFK airport, which violates civil rights law. Not a silly statement. That is right out of the right-wing media. Again, you see how they have to change the subject. Beggar states, change the subject. Now you're going to make it a racial issue. No. In the past, the machine in New York would always, minority businesses would be at a disadvantage. Now what they're saying is it's going to be inclusive. And being inclusive to a racist means that you think it's racist to be inclusive. Ha! That is so funny. That is so funny. Paul Fleming says half of Amazon warehouse workers struggle with food and housing costs. A third of the workers have had to rely on at least one government assistance program. Amazon stock hit an all-time high in April. Jeff Bezos is now worth $203 billion. This is what oligarchy looks like. And a lot of these folks that are defending these people from red states, they don't have, in nice parlance, they don't have a pot to piss in. But they somehow believe they want to go ahead and support these oligarchs. It's amazing. It's amazing, right? It's amazing. But let them live in their fantasy land as their own people screw them. That is what happens. We have Michael Cisak and Eric Hayes supporting people who screws them. Don't forget, Eric, I know you. Cisak, I know you. You are supporting people who materially takes money and wealth away from you. And because of some of your own prejudices, you prefer to take that over supporting an inclusive, progressive policy. Look in the mirror and see what's wrong with a particular sect of America. All right, let's continue, my dear brothers and sisters. Hey, but by the way, guys, I still love you. I am trying to educate you, but I still love you. I'm just trying to educate you. I am educating you, and one of these days, you will get it. One of these days, you will get it. That the people who are ripping you off, look in the mirror. Okay. All right, let's see what else we got here before I continue. Let me get to some info from my good people. Egberto, correct, they don't know. The conservatives have a different idea of what a welfare state is. We see a welfare state as one who receives more federal money than they pay in taxes. Conservatives see a welfare state as one which takes care of its people by way of social welfare programs, or not recognizing such programs elevate struggling people out of poverty. Not only that, Our economic system it has an aberration. The aberration between a capitalist system is that the people that do the least work make the most and they extract from the others, right? So therefore, a person may own a McDonald's who is a millionaire, not a small millionaire, a little McDonald's, right? But for them to become that, for them to really make that kind of money and make so much more than what their employees make, it means they pay a low wage to that employee. That employee can't get an apartment. That employee can't get support for their kids. And in the blue states, those people who work for McDonald's, they get support from their state. And it is understood that the aberration in capitalism needs to be mitigated by said support. In the red states, they say, oh, go die. Your health care, go die. You don't have a house, live in a tenement or rat infested place. They don't care about people, but they claim family values. What I say all the time is this: red states talk a good game about families and all of that, but they're the most anti-family policies in the country. That's it. They're the most anti-family policies in the country, but they do it with a smile, and they use God and they use their preachers that are on the take to support that being. Just think about that. So what I'm saying to my progressive brothers and sisters, don't let the bigger mouths within the red states or the bigger mouths within the Republican or conservative movement allow you to be on the defensive. You must be on the offensive. Being on the offensive doesn't mean being rude to these folks. I like Eric. I like Mike Cisak. I like all these brothers and sisters that are conservatives in my room. But I'm not going to kowtow to these guys when they come with this misinformation, when they come and they try to make something somehow that isn't the case. Absolutamente no. No. We are the ones that are moral. We are the ones with policies that support the people. We are the ones. We don't cower in letting people know that we are the progressives, are the group in this country that cares about people, cares about families. Put our money where our mouth is, and not a bunch of rhetoric that does absolutely nothing for humanity. That's why the death rates in red states are higher than the death rates in blue states. That's why they're sicker in red states than they are in blue states. That is why they're more educationally depressed in red states than they are in blue states. That is their policies in action. The policies of the evil conservative movement in action. And don't forget that. Don't forget that. Don't let them come with any kind of spinning, because we are the moral ones. We are the ones that care about people. Anyway, charter schools. Let's get over there. Greg Abbott went ahead and took over the schools in Houston, Texas. All right. They took over the schools in Houston, Texas, and the person they decided to hire, let me see before I get into that subject, Tom Sarnick has a good article. It says, Egberto, the Yahoo News article is excellent. You might want to read part of it out loud on air. And because you've just told me that, and because it's a subject we're talking about, maybe I will. I'm going to put that on hold for what we're going to talk about as far as the charter schools. And I'm going to read through this article that isn't too long at all. Thank you for that. All right. So let me preface it this way. All right. Let's do it this way. Politics Done Right is a program that wants everybody to come together. People on the right, on the left, etc. I want everybody to be able to open their eyes and see things. I don't want progressives to cower to conservatives who generally have a big mouth in trying to state how good their values are, when in reality, there are several truths. The truth that red states are less educated than blue states, the truth that blue states support red states, the truth that in red states, the life expectancy is lower than in blue states. The fact of the matter that the government in general has to do so much more in red states than they do elsewhere. And so we had somebody in our chat that decided to say, well, if the red states are so bad, why are people moving from the red states to the from the blue states to the red states? Well, it's an economic choice. You make your money in the blue states, you get educated in the blue states. When I say that in the aggregate, and then when you want your money to go further, you then jump down and live into the red states, and you have those people in the red states then come and serve you in a form of indentured servitude as they serve the people moving in from the blue states. I'm only being a little childish right there, but you get the point. Anyway, thanks to one of our great listeners, El Señor Tom Zarnik. He found this article that I think is a very important article, which is germane to the discussion that we were having here, which is Americans are increasingly moving to red Republican leaning states where life is cheaper, but also die younger. But I tell you what else is good about that. By us getting more blue people coming to red states, it means these red states eventually will turn blue. So here we go. The United States is an increasingly polarized country when it comes to the politics, but one thing that almost all people want to live a long, healthy life. More and more Americans are moving to from Democratic leaning blue states to Republican voting red ones. And one of the effects of this change is that they are relocating to places with lower life expectancy. Idaho, Montana, and Florida, all red states, had the greatest population growth among U.S. states between 2020 and 2022. Meanwhile, New York and Illinois, both blue states, and Louisiana, a red state, suffered the biggest population losses. California, another blue state, had experienced significant recent population loss as well. One key reason for this migration is the high cost of living in places like New York and California compared to the lower cost of living in red states such as Georgia and Indiana. I am a scholar who studies the intersection between politics, media, and psychology. I think it is important to note that another trend, though, is that people are largely migrating to places with lower life expectancies. There is a large difference in expected lifespans for people living in certain states, according to U.S. Census for Disease Control and Prevention of Data. For instance, people born in New York and California, two of the richest states in the country, which largely vote Democratic, have a life expectancy of 77.7 and 79 years, respectively. But people in Mississippi and Louisiana, two of the poorest states, which tend to vote Republican, live on average until they are 71.9 and 73.1 years old. Wow, they sound like third world countries. People who live in Republican-leaning states tend to have less money, worse health condition, higher rates of gun-related deaths, and lower levels of education than people living in Democratic states. On average, people in red states have higher rates of poverty than residents of blue states. Poverty is an indicator of life expectancy in the U.S. The poorer someone is, the more likely to die younger. But there are likely other issues at play in people in red states having lower lifespans. Health differences. Research in 2020 showed that America is in blue states tend to live longer than people in red states, primarily because of state policies on everything from seatbelt laws to abortion laws. That research also identified health policy as a major factor. People in blue states also tend to have higher rates of health insurance than people in red states. Moreover, and look at what we do in Texas. In Texas, we don't even take the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care, which means our politicians kills our people. Those of you listening to me right now, if you're in a red state, say hi to your politician who will likely kill a relative of yours. Moreover, when looking at rates of people who are diagnosed with cancer in each state, it is clear that people in red states are generally less healthy than people in blue ones. Red state residents are also more likely to die from heart disease than people in blue states, but health rates vary greatly across racial and ethnic groups. Black and Hispanic people are far more likely than white and Asian people in the U.S. to not have access to quality, affordable health care, regardless of their state of residency. And Black people remain more likely than white people to have high blood pressure and to die from heart disease among other conditions. Another key factor in this lifespan trend is that people in red states have lower levels of education than people in blue states. This matters since some recent research has shown that education levels are the best predictor of a person's lifespan for a variety of complex interconnected reasons, including an increased likelihood receiving a higher educational with lead to boost in income. Experts also often consider race and ethnicity another major factor, in part because of structural inequalities facing people of color that may place access to quality, affordable education out of reach. For example, lack of education may be the most direct reason for lower incomes and short lives, but it is not clear if attaining higher level of education makes people wealthier or if people who are born in wealth receiving more and better education. All right. Are people moving to die young? There are other reasons that factor into complex questions of life expectancy and discrepancies in longevity. And I should have put this on the screen as I'm reading it. And it goes like this. One reason identified by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, for example, is that there are more gun deaths by homicide and suicide in red states than blue states. People are moving to different states in the US for a variety of reasons, including in some cases political ideologies. While blue zip codes have been found to be getting bluer, red ones are becoming even more red. But it is important to keep in mind that data on lifespan and health are simply averages, and so there can be a high variation within particular locations. There are people in red and blue states who defy these statistics. Many people living long lives in poor red states and people dying younger in rich blue ones. Still, the overall trends are clear. People living in blue states by and large tend to live longer, healthier, and wealthier lives. And this was taken out of the conversation. And I used to do a lot of work in the conversation with promoting a lot of their information. So for all of you that want to put your heads in the sand, everything that this guy puts in the article is corroborated by governmental data and other types of data. So let me tell you, progressives, don't allow yourself to be snowed by people trying to make it seem that somehow red states are good. Again, Mike Cisak in challenging the stats is going to try to make it a difference between black and white people, etc. Look, it's about a state. It's about a state. So it doesn't matter what the disparity is about. Are you saying that whatever the case is, just take a look at some of what Mike Cisak is writing, because it shows you the evil within the type of a mentality right there. But anyway, folks, as I said, so it turns out we can qualitatively and quantitatively let you know that progressive policies makes you live longer. Progressive policies keep you more educated, and progressive policies gives you a better life form. Period. So my progressives, go out there, my progressives, and do not cower to the misinformation. Do not cower to the loud mouths who are there trying to show that their welfare states are anything other than welfare states, that their support for people are anything other than evil. Please go out there and do your job, progressives. That's how you win 2024, by putting it into the face of people to let them know that the people they're voting for are killing them. All right, let's go ahead now to talk about. Let's see what we got. Stopping in between working meetings, waiting for. Thank you for being here, my brother. Bruce is from Kingwood, Texas. Michael Rudnin says, Mike C seems to acknowledge that black people have shorter lifespans, but misattributes to the primary cause of racial division, then fights against it. That's incoherent. You know that. He has to find a way to justify the evil within the conservative movement. It's about justifying the evil within the conservative movement. Cannot be justified. Anyway, I think I have time. Yes, I do. let's go ahead and show you what this evil governor here is doing, and then we'll move on. Let's see. Go. Let's get into Mike Miles. It drives me crazy for a particular reason. We talk about having agency in something. We also talk about accountability. We also talk about personal responsibility. All those things are things that all of us believe in. But when it comes to our Republican leadership, they want everybody to follow this, right? So HISD has some problems. The Houston Independent District has some problems, but it didn't merit a coup to take over the school. Mm-hmm. But that's what we got. We got a coup. The Abbott sent his peons out here to do that, mm-hmm. and in that they brought their genius. And this now goes into what Brother Jack Van Beber had to talk about Mike Miles. Mike Miles was once the superintendent of the Dallas School District, and as soon as he was released or quit or however they do it out there, he went ahead and he formed 3 charter schools in Colorado, right? And these charter schools that he formed were all unsuccessful. But it's not a surprise. Mm-hmm. Look, let me point this out, people. Charter schools, there is no, unless you are going to a well-funded charter school that is likely have a whole bunch of rich people, there is no charter school that in the aggregate does better than public schools. And it's a math thing. It's a math thing. I'm going to get specifically into Mike Miles in a minute, but it's a math thing. Let's do some math. The public schools get money, X amount of dollars from the taxpayer to educate the kids. We have a lot of public schools. We have a great high school in Kingwood, or a great 2 high schools in Kingwood. We have great schools in Humble, in this one school district that I'm in, Humble School District, etc. But if you take a look at how monies are allocated, they're generally not too fair. And I imagine you can see that in the Houston Independent School District as well. So the thing with public schools is we want equity, but we have the ability to have equity because each student get the same amount of money, whether you're in a bad neighborhood, good neighborhood, whatever, get the same amount per student. How that is allocated throughout the system is done by administrators. Now, when we're talking about a charter school takes private dollars. Take your public dollars. And with your public dollars, they do one thing. They skim. In other words, if it's a for-profit, and by the way, they like to say, well, this charter school is a non-profit, and while this other one may be for-profit. Forget about all those terms. When it comes to schools, it's there for administrators to make money for themselves. When you go ask any charter school what the administrators make in those private schools, you'll be quite surprised. All right? But above and beyond, if a private school is also a for-profit school, it has to make a profit above and beyond that as well. And teachers. Now, what about our teachers? The teachers in these charter schools, and especially specifically in Texas, doesn't have to have the same qualifications as they do in the public schools. In the public schools, you have to have all your certifications, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In your charter schools, you don't. In your public schools, teachers in tendency to get better pay than your charter schools. Now, we are in a system that says you get what you pay for. In other words, if you want a good teacher, you pay that teacher a good salary. Why you have a lot of people that otherwise would teach becoming engineers in the private sector or lawyers or doctors and not teaching even though they have an affinity to teach is because, teachers are not compensated as they should. I believe some of the highest paid people on this planet, bar none, should be teachers. They are the ones that move our knowledge forward generation to generation to generation. These are the most important people on the planet. Whatever kind of teacher you are, college, high school, elementary, I don't care. You are the ones, in Panama, where I'm from, we look up to teachers as if, at least at the time that I was there, they were the promoters of education. They were the people moving knowledge forward. When you go to a grocery store and you see a teacher, you stand up at attention. This is a person of dignity. In Panama, la licenciada, el licenciado, this teacher, this licensed teacher. Over here, we have a tendency to treat them as if they're the scraps, the person who can't get an engineering job. Even though most of the teachers that I know, most of the teachers that taught my daughter, I honored them because the patience that they have. They spend more time with our kids than many of us spend with our own kids, the most important people on this planet. Yet, we always fund them last, and we try to cut their salaries with charter schools. A charter school, you got a charter school, you don't have to give them health care. You don't have to get them certified. You don't have to do all these things. So they love charter schools, and then they go into black and blue and black and Latino and all these other communities, because remember, every student get the same amount of cash from the state. So if you go into these poor neighborhoods who have bad schools that shouldn't be bad because they all get the same, these charter schools invest their monies into advertising to convince these parents who are attending bad schools, put your student in this charter school. So they also get a cream of the crop, right? Because the parents that are nurturing their kids in these bad areas, they know they want better. And as opposed to society doing better for their kids, these parents there throw them into the charter schools, which may be a tad bit better than your regular schools. But here's a kicker. This brother who came to take over our school district, Miles, he was a failed administrator on all the charter schools that he commanded. Failed administrator. All those schools did horrendously bad when compared to all the other schools in their respective states, both Colorado and Texas. And that's who Abbott placed in charge of our school district. But you know what people didn't know? People didn't know that this dude was also going to find a technique to move the cash-rich system here in Texas schools and find a way to funnel it to the failed schools he had in Colorado. That's who is your administrator, Houston. Get off your butts and do something about that.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Let's get into
Absolutely. Join, folks. Join, folks. Join, folks. Anyway, let's see what we got. Sounds like Educare Advantage. That is a good one, Bruce. Educare Advantage. That is, you know what? I'm going to steal that one. I'm going to steal that one from Bruce Pollard. All right, let's see what else we got here. Michael Ronan says, Eric, what is the conservatives who say that my way or the highway, as if people who came into your state won't improve the state as immigration. Of course they're going to improve the state. They immediately increase the IQ of the state, at least. Think about it. They immediately increase the IQ of the state. All right. Mike C. Sector, I constantly have lazy liberals ask me to do their research. Get off your lazy butt and go look it up. Really, I kind of doubt that.
The I was going to make a joke, but it's not a good one. All right, Michael Rodden says, Egberto, the public school system also has that problem of high paid administrators that private schools do, though to a lesser extent. Makes me wish I could reallocate money more to teachers and other necessary staff. I agree with you 100%. And get rid of the unnecessary administrator. 100%, Rodden. Bruce Pollard said no STAR tests in charter schools. Nope. Again, the charter schools get away with graduating dumb kids, and if you look at how successful they are, they're ranked in the middle to the bottom of all schools. It's sad, you know. It is sad. Let's go to Ray. Come on in, Ray. Ray. How are you doing, my brother Ray? Talk to me.
I'm good this cloudy afternoon. Listen, brother, I was actually, listening to you about the basically the blue state, red state option. The
Right.
problem with our society is that, and I thought about this last night. I grew up in a consumerism society,
Mm-hmm.
meaning, when I was a child, looking at Facebook and the nostalgia of it, it was all about products,
Mm-hmm.
toys, what you can buy, what shoes you can wear. And as a kid, that was where my value lied. It was like if I
Right.
didn't have a specific type of toy, like a video game, if I didn't have a specific type of shoe, like an Air Jordan, my worth as a person would seem diminished because my parents either couldn't afford those things or they prioritized me living and having food in my stomach and everything that's important. But see, the problem with our society is that we look down on other societies that, have adapted, I'm going to say the dreaded C word, communism, because there's been, evidence that suggests in, a communist society that you lack the variety that you would in a consumerist society like ours. So you can't get, 50 brands of peanut butter like you want. You can't get, those shoes and things. And I think that's the common misperception of what it would mean if we actually adopted a more just and I guess a more equitable economy that would help all of us, including the social services. But I could go
I
on
think
forever. I just
Ray,
want to
Ray, Ray, Ray. I
respond
want to
to
say
what you
you
were saying.
nailed it, Ray. I want to say something here. You nailed it, and let me tell you how great you nailed it because it's important for people to understand what you said there. They give us a false choice. The false choice is that if we accept social programs that make sure we put humanity first, not business first, humanity first, that somehow that's going to give most of us less choices and a lower standard of living, which could not be further from the truth. I'm going to give one example. I don't have a lot of time left, but I want to use one example of something you said. You said that somehow people believe there won't be a lot of choices. That's not true. Here's the difference, Ray. When when there's a
I
lot,
know.
but yeah, but I want the audience to hear. You talk about Air Jordans, right? The reality is capitalism reduced the choices. Let's give an example. You can go into every city right now and you find a Walmart, you find a Starbucks, etc. One corporation that give everybody something that always looks the same, right? But in a true vibrant free enterprise society with a strong social safety net, you will go to Philadelphia, and the stores in Philadelphia would not look anything like the stores in Houston, would not look like anything in other stores. And what you find is the diversity and a whole lot of things that you have. People get a chance to reprogram themselves and say, you know what? I feel for I feel to have the Philadelphia spirit. I'll go to Philadelphia and get things. I want to feel the LA spirit. I'll go to LA. I want to feel the Timbuktu, Kentucky spirit. I go to Timbuktu. Capitalism doesn't give you more choices. It gives you less. And that's what people don't get. That's what people, and you nailed it when you said, you nailed it. You nailed it. And that's what we need to be out there preaching. Hey, Ray, we're out of time. Anything else you got to say before I hang up right here? Ray?
Yeah, well, the wealth extractors that you speak. Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, yeah. To the wealth extractors, they basically are just here to leech off of us, the greater population, and we need to stop giving them leeway to do that because we believe that we're going to be them one day, because that's a lie.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. Gotta go. Thank you so kindly for your call, brother Ray. Anyway, folks, gotta get out of here. I'm gonna go over by 1 minute so that I can do my ask. Please, folks, please consider supporting the program. How can you support this program? You can support this program by becoming a member of our, becoming a, first of all, you can go to politicsdoneright.com/support. politicsdoneright.com/support. That is where you'll find the all-encompassing way to support. Okay, I'll check out your last post, my brother Paul Fleming. I'll check it out. You can support us by going to politicsdoneright.com/support. You can also go to politicsdoneright.com/books to get all of my books. politicsdoneright.com/books. You can support us by becoming a paid subscriber of our newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. I'd love to get 10 people in, let's just say by tomorrow. So if you have the possibility of becoming a paid subscriber, there are perks. You get to read all of my books. You don't have to buy the books. You can read all of my books, plus any books that I subsequently write, you have access to if you become a support. Either support us through Patreon or support us through our newsletter. I don't think I gave you the Patreon link. Here is the Patreon link, politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. Become a Patreon. Or go ahead and become a paid subscriber of our newsletter that comes out and talk. You love the things that we talk about in the newsletter. Go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Let me see if I can get to Paul Fleming's post before I go, because I don't want to leave anybody hanging. Paul Fleming says, about 9 times a day over 2 decades, a gun used in a crime has been traced back to its original owner, a law enforcement agency. A joint investigation by CBS News. A trace and reveal from that Center for Investigative Reporting has found at least 52,000 such incidents. Here's a look at the key findings. Thank you for that, very Mr. Fleming. All right, folks, I got to get out of here. We're 2 minutes overdue. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.